How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Bleav in Chargers. We are approaching Super Bowl Sunday, Chiefs, Eagles. It's a dandy one, but you guys know who I'm with right now, Lorenzo Neal. How you doing, my guy?
Hey, you see me, Borna. I'm sweating. I got it in. I just left the weight room. I feel like the Super Bowl, a couple days away. I said, let me try to go get my Friday pump in before the Super Bowl. How would the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs, what would they do today? Today was about higher reps. It was about intensity. Get the rep, get the blood flowing, make sure the body's all really nice and lubed up and ready to go. Whoo! I'm ready to play some football.
Lo, what did you work out today? A little chest pump?
Yeah, I did some chest. What I do a little chest. I'll get the 25s on each side, and I'll do 50 reps there. And I'll put 35s on each side, and I'll do a 50 reps there. Then I'll put the 45s, 50 reps. Then I'll do 185. I'll go 35 reps. Then I'll go 205. I'll go 30 reps. I'll go 225, and I'll go 25 reps, baby. That's what I'm doing. I'm doing reps. I'm repping 225, baby. Sets of 4 for 25 reps for 100 reps, baby. That's what O'Neal's doing.
I love it, man. You're feeling juiced on this Friday, man. Listen, I don't blame you. Get a nice pump. I just hit some balls, at the range. I'm trying to catch up to Low in the golf game. I don't even want to tell people my handicap because it's non-existent. It's awful.
It's all right.
Anyways,
it's all right.
We're working on the game.
You can, but you can go ahead. You know what we can do though? We can make some money. Go and bet online, right? And bet your golf, your under, your handicap. Let's do that, baby.
Hey, I'm telling you, everybody, go to Bet Online. This Super Bowl spread is very interesting right now. I got the Chiefs on betonline.ag at +1.5. Got them at the money line at plus odds. I know everyone likes Philadelphia. I know everyone says the Eagles are the better team because they are on paper. But you got Patrick Mahomes and that healthier ankle. I'm giving the coaching edge to Kansas City. It should be an interesting one, Lo. You're going to Bet Online. You're using promo code Bleav. That's BLEAV. Where do your allegiances lie as a betting man?
Yeah, you know what? I don't think a lot of people are talking about that. And I was, you and I were going to get into it. And I look at, if you told me, out of all three quarterbacks, if let's just, hypotheticals, if let's just say our guy was in this, Herbert was in the conversation. You look at the three quarterbacks that are in the two that are in the Super Bowl, and let's just compare this to Chargers. I would take Mahomes, and then I would take Herbert. I'm telling you, I sit right now, today, if you told me, if you had to pick between these two quarterbacks in the Super Bowl and Herbert, I would go Mahomes, then I would go Herbert, and then I would be Jalen. What do you say?
It's tough, right? Definitely Herbert over Jalen Hurts, right? And looking at this big game, and of course we have Mahomes kind of at that top, and he's deserved that, and he's earned that right. For me, the question just comes down to a few things. Can Kansas City's offensive line handle that? That Eagles pass rush. I mean, Hassan Reddick's just having an insane year for the Eagles, and they just have all these guys who can come at you, Fletcher Cox in the trenches. So there's two things that I'm looking at this game. Can Kansas City stop at least Philadelphia's pass rush? And even if they can't, is Mahomes' ankle healthy enough to scramble, right? Is he able to get out of that? That's the first thing. The second thing is, can Kansas City stop the Philadelphia rushing attack? If Jalen Hurts has to beat you in the air, Kansas City is going to win this football game. But
Yep.
Philadelphia, it doesn't matter who they've played, whether it's Miles Sanders, whether it's Kenneth Gainwell, whether it's Boston Scott, they've shown that they can run the ball effectively. Can Kansas City, can guys like Chris Jones, can those guys stop the run? It's the key to this football game, Lo. What about you?
Yeah, I'm in the same church, same pew, but here's the thing that I think that people are taking for granted. Kansas City Chiefs, I'm telling you, they're not going to try to block Reddick, like you said, with the tight end. The Niners lost that game. You try to block him with the tight end, you're asking for a headache. And I don't think Kansas City's going to do that. I think they'll turn protection to him. I think you can get a double team on that guy, Reddick. But when I look at this, this game comes down to a couple things to me. I look at strength of schedule. And everyone says that, Philadelphia's played some great games and great competition. The Giants, to me, the Giants offense is MIG-tag. It's whatever. The quarterback runs around, broken plays. The Giants make things happen. They play with a lot of heart. You got a coach that has a lot of emotion. So they were just a scrappy team. That's the Giants. Now, let's talk about freaking the 49ers. If I gave you a Testarossa, if you went on a Ferrari, it doesn't matter what car, you name Testarossa, name the car that you want, the fastest car in the world. You get the fastest car in the world. And I told you, guess what? You don't have to stop for no stoplights. You can just open it up and go as fast as you can. And I drove to San Francisco, 4-hour drive. Then I got on a plane. And then we were racing to New York. And you're in the fastest car. Guess who's winning that race? I am in the plane. The Niners were doomed. They lost the car. That was like having just a car against the plane. You can't win that. So when you look at this, and everyone thinks Philadelphia, what they've done has been amazing. I agree with you. But I'm telling you, I don't think Philadelphia has been tested. If you look at Jacksonville Jaguars, you think about their strength of schedule and who they played the last several games and what Jacksonville been through. They went on a gauntlet and they won just about 7 or 8 straight. Then you think about the Cincinnati Bengals, how many won they straight and what this team has played. I'm telling you, to me, hands down, Borna, hands down, Kansas City played a tougher playoff schedule without a doubt because the 49ers was less than a team when Philadelphia, especially after the first series when their quarterback got hurt. So with me, hands down, Kansas City has had a tougher playoff schedule, and I think they've been more battle-tested than what Philadelphia has by far in the playoffs.
I couldn't agree more. And going into this game from a storyline perspective, this is the 4th tightest spread in the history of the Super Bowl. This is going to be a very even game. And I think the storylines of this game, Lo, are sensational, right? You got Travis Kelce versus Jason Kelce. You got Andy Reid facing his former team in the Philadelphia Eagles, right? There are so many fantastic storylines about this football game. And it's either way, whatever way this game goes, right? Because if Patrick Mahomes wins this game, Lorenzo Neal, he is already an all-time great before he turns 28 years old, right? Already, if Patrick Mahomes wins this game. Lo, if Patrick Mahomes, okay, how about this? If Patrick Mahomes loses this game, okay, and then he retires, is he still going to be in Canton already?
Yes.
That's crazy, right?
That's crazy.
And if Jalen Hurts now wins this game, Jalen Hurts will forever be cemented in that elite quarterback rung in his career. It's just the way it goes.
You know what I think, too, for Jalen Hurts? I think if he wins this and he does nothing, I think he's comparable to the quarterback that was there 5 years ago that beat Brady. One big moment. The magic run with Philly when Nick Foles beat Brady. I don't think Nick Foles will ever be great. I think Jalen, when you look at Jalen, yes, he has a chance to continue. Look, his upside looks unbelievable. But if he wins this game and going to be nothing and don't do anything and get back to the Super Bowl or play, I don't think you can call him a great. I look at Mahomes and I look at this situation. I'm like, okay, you're talking about a Mahomes, but everybody and their mother, you look at all the talking heads, they're saying, oh my God, Philadelphia's defense, look what they did to the Niners. People wake up. That wasn't the Niners team you beat. So everyone's talking about how great this Philadelphia defense is. You're absolutely right. It's played great. Everyone talks about Kansas City defense can't stop anyone. It's worse against the run, all those stuff. You know what they did to Kansas City? You made the DJ and all those guys on Kansas City. They are the other guys that people forgot. And I'm telling you right now, Kansas City's defense is way better than what people's giving them credit for. And they showed themselves against Cincinnati Bengals. They're tired of saying they're the whipping boy. They're tired of hearing everyone says, you know what, that offense, Mahomes got to do it all. They're tired of hearing it. I'm telling you right now, Kansas City has heard the battle cry and their defense is pissed off. I think their defense come to do 2 things on Sunday. And you know my favorite line, they come to chew bubble gum and kick ass. And I think Sunday, Kansas City Chiefs defense is going to be fresh out of bubble gum, and you're going to see a defense play with way more tenacity than what people gives them credit for. And yes, Philly does have a good defense, but I'm telling you, Kansas City's on the scene, and they're on the other line, and they're saying we're going to play you, and we're going to play great defense.
I love it, man. I love it. It's interesting too because you make I think the best point you've made is the path to the Super Bowl, right? Kansas City, they had to beat a very, very good Cincinnati team. That Jacksonville game was very dicey. They lost Patrick Mahomes. Chad Henne had to come in and save the day. And that young Jaguars team was playing with absolute house money. They were playing great football after beating the Chargers. And then that Cincinnati game, it seems like that was one of the most impressive Mahomes games of his career. He was sensational in the Bengals game. He lost Juju Smith-Schuster. He could hobble. He couldn't even move on the ankle. They were doubling Kelce, and it seemed like Burrow and Chase, all those guys had their magic, but Kansas City just found a way. And with an all-time great like Patrick Mahomes, they just find ways to win football games. It's just don't even know how you can pinpoint it, where the game changed, how it changed. There's just that aura with those kind of players that, you know what, they're usually just always finding a way to be on top at the end of the game. And that's just kind of where my mindset is going to from a betting perspective going into this Super Bowl, because it's a very tough game. And America, we got over $20 billion on the Super Bowl nationwide, which is an all-time all-time high, and I think that number is going to continue to go up. But from a strict perspective, I know that this moment is not going to be too big for Mahomes or Andy Reid because they've been there many times already. You look at someone like Nick Sirianni, Lorenzo, I love his confidence. I love his swagger. But sometimes I feel like he's a little too nonchalant. He's a little bit too, yeah, this is my game. We're going to be good. And Jalen Hurts, I know he's played in big games. He played in front of 100,000 people in Norman, Oklahoma and Tuscaloosa, Alabama. But it's different when you got millions of cameras on you in the Super Bowl. So just for that reason, I'm giving the slight edge to Kansas City because there is that exposure, there's that experience, and there is that, comfortability of being in this moment, right? So it's just such an interesting matchup, Lo, because in my opinion, this is the best Super Bowl matchup in quite a few years. I think this is one where people have no idea. I wouldn't be surprised with either outcome of the game. But if you were to tell our audience, all right, guys, and make sure you go check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your audio and video, Lo, what would you say is the number one key to the game for both teams? So give me a key to the game for Kansas City and a key to the game for Philadelphia, if you may.
Yeah, I think for me, it's going to be unprecedented. Philadelphia has to find a way to run the ball.
Yeah.
They have to find a way, without a doubt, to show some ball control, to run the ball, to keep Mahomes off the field. Make this a grindy, ugly, let Jalen get outside the pocket, dink, dink, dunk, take some shots every now and then, but consistently run the ball to keep Kansas City pass rushers tired, to keep them tired and make sure that you convert on third down. That, for me, is key for the Philadelphia. For me, Kansas City, it's their defense. I know everyone talks about Kansas City's offense and what Mahomes and Kelsey, because let's be real. You can't stop those two. You just can't stop them. You hope to contain them. You just can't stop them. So they're going to get theirs. But how good is Kansas City's defense? For me, it's Kansas City's defense. 24 is the number. Can Kansas City hold Philadelphia to 24 points or less? And I think they can. That's the number. 24, 27 at the max. If you can do that, I think Kansas City is getting 30. I know they talk about this defense, how good Philadelphia's defense is. They haven't seen Mahomes. They haven't seen this type of guy, what he can do with the magic, the broken plays, Kelsey trying to guard Kelsey all time, that kind of time. I think it's going to be a game that you're going to see Mahomes get to 30.
Lo, I want to segue a little bit, and I want to talk about something. I know we didn't discuss this, but I saw on Undisputed the other day, they had Austin Ekeler on the show, and it was Skip Bayless with Shannon Sharp, the show. And Skip Bayless was saying some things about Justin Herbert, saying that he said Herbert's job is to win the game, to put the team on his back, and that he didn't. But obviously someone like Skip Bayless isn't as close to the Chargers as us. He's not seeing all these circumstances, right? He's not seeing all the injuries. He's not seeing the situational play calling that's not helping Justin Herbert. And a lot of people thought Ekeler kind of, what his comments essentially agreeing that Herbert, didn't get the job done. I think it was taken out of context. But what are your thoughts on something like that in terms of Skip Bayless going out there and saying that about Justin Herbert? Were you able to see the clip or no?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. You got to realize Skip just said, hey, when you're a franchise quarterback, your job is to carry your team. Look at Mahomes. Look at these guys. Look at, you look at the Bills quarterback. Their job is to carry. And Ekeler probably said, yeah, you're right. You agree. And because that was a leading question. So you have to realize Skip Bayless get paid for clicks and get people to say what he wants them to say.
He's trying to put him in.
He's trying to put him in a box. And you know what? Ekeler meant nothing by it. It was just a situation with the way that he led the question. Come on, Ekeler, be honest, man. The quarterback's job is to lead the team.
Yeah.
It's to carry, It's like, okay. So what do you tell a guy? Eckler's never been in the media savvy. Instead of saying, Skip, I know what you're trying to do. You're getting clickbait. Okay, Ekeler. Okay, Skip. What about a guy that's in Green Bay? How many Super Bowls has he won? Okay, let's just not talk about that. Let's talk about Josh Allen on that team. How many have they won? Okay, let's even look at Cincinnati. How many have they won? So when you're saying that, so tell me who's the quarterback that week in and week out and getting Super Bowls after Super Bowls. So what are you saying? Are you saying it's about playoffs? How do you measure it, Skip? So tell me, what is your criteria, Skip? Did you say if a quarterback is good enough to carry his team? What is your criteria? Because
we need you on the show, man.
Because they don't want none of low daddy. They don't want none of the low daddy because I bring the thunder and the lightning, baby.
I love it, man. No, it's a good point. You bring up a great point because the job of those shows is to get as many clicks and ratings, and sometimes you have to kind of corner these athletes and put them in a position to say something that they shouldn't say, right? So it's super ill-willed almost to a certain point because now we see that clip and so many Charger fans are saying, "Oh my goodness, Ekeler has beef with Herbert." Like we all know that's not true, right? And what was it like when you were playing with the Bolts, Low? Like obviously you guys had some good seasons that ended in really heartbreaking disappointment. Did the media ever try and make you guys turn against each other? Talk to me about an instance if that ever happened.
Oh, without a doubt. You had guys talking about, Rivers. You heard them talking about Breeze. Breeze had to end up leaving. You see how the controversy that was there. I mean, Philip
Was
Rivers.
that media driven? Was that
It
media
was
driven?
media driven, and you got to realize Ed McGuire who had a tough situation, him and Dean, and because the GM at the time, I'm drawing blanks. Help me out here.
AJ Smith?
Because AJ Smith was there when he drafted Phillips, so it's his name's on the back of that, and it was just interesting because Drew didn't play as well, of course, so they drafted a quarterback, but who did he have? He didn't have Gates. He wasn't in his prime. He got Gates in his rookie year.
He had the shoulder. He
had the shoulder, but prior to the shoulder, he still that year you had LT and you had Eric Parker, for heaven's sake, was your number one. He didn't necessarily have Vincent Jackson and all those guys are not on the scene yet. So when you look at Drew Brees and when he came into the Chargers, him and LT LaDainian, it was a team that was broken. It was a team that didn't have necessarily game changers. And so when you think about what he had to do, and then, of course, then they bring in Phillip, and then, Drew showed him when he had some talent around him. That's why he was able to keep Phillip on the bench the whole year. Whole year until, like you said, the shoulder went out, and that's when they decided to go in another direction. But when you get a quarterback some weapons and you put a team around him, great quarterbacks, they find a way to win. You look at Drew Brees. What did he went on to do? In New Orleans, Super Bowl, Hall of Fame. It's crazy.
Lo, I was at the game when Drew had the shoulder injury. I think I was 5-6 years old. I was at the game. I'll never forget. And you bring up a good point because I digress and we can get into story time, but it's fun about this. A lot of Charger fans don't even understand. I think there was a lot of question marks about when they even drafted Phillip. They're like, why did AJ even draft Phillip? We have our guy. And no one really talks about that. Phillip was awesome, right? Phillip had a great career and we love Phillip Rivers, but it's so crazy that no one really talks about like Drew Brees was the guy. He was a Pro Bowler in 2004. You guys won. I don't think people know you guys won 12-4, right? In 2004, yes. You won the division, and LT and Gatesies were babies, and we were relying on a 35-year-old kid in McCardell, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And it's like people don't understand. If Breezy would had your 2006, 2007 roster,
he went. Come on, guys. He wins back-to-back Super Bowls. Listen to me, if he doesn't get hurt that year because we're playing against Denver and the game's already over, and he goes in and hurts his shoshoulder, you remember that? That's when he hurt his shoulder.
That was the game I was at.
We were in the playoffs then. Who knows what we did? Without a doubt, Drew Brees isn't hurt. I think you have a great chance of winning a Super Bowl because he was more veteran, more seasoned, and Phillip came in and did a great job. But at that time he wasn't what Drew Brees was. So
it wasn't.
It's no slight on Drew. It's no slight.
It's absolutely not. But no, it's just these are just fun stories. These are just fun stories to talk about. Like everyone knows about Malcolm Floyd and those people in the Rivers era, but people don't understand Malcolm Floyd was 23 with Drew Brees, right? Kasim Osgood was 24. They were relying on guys. What was his name? Rashay Caldwell, right? Guys like that, where people are like
just guys. He just had guys. He did not have playmakers.
This is before my time, but I loved it.
And that's what people have to realize. And so it was tough. Drew Brees, I mean, without a doubt, Drew got a bad rap. Let's be honest. We know it. And you're happy for him and you're happy for the career Phillip Rivers had, but you got to be happy for Drew Brees because what he overcame in New Orleans was just amazing.
It was just amazing. And we digress, guys. But just a few more. It happens, and that's the beauty of life. You never know what twists and turns are going to take, and you never know. And it worked out for him.
And you're right. And in the offseason, I know we're in the Super Bowl because this is the Super Bowl week. But let's face it, in this offseason, we're going to have a lot. We'll go down memory lane with Uncle Lolo, and we'll go down talking about that. And we'll bring in the fans and let them go by what team was great and all those things. So we're going to have plenty of time to get into that stuff. So I wanted to get back on where are you at as far as just, Philadelphia's offense. And I talked about the run game. What is one of the things that you look at for Philadelphia to have success?
It's interesting, right? I mean, I don't think AJ Brown had as a great of a game as he should have, like in the NFC Championship. He dropped some balls, and give credit to the San Francisco 49ers and that stout playing defense. But what kind of production are they going to get, right, from their receivers, right? We know that Dallas Goddard's going to be a good weapon, but what kind of production are the Eagles going to get from their guys in AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, right? Devontae Smith is a fantastic number 2. He's been a fantastic number 2 receiver this year. And I think the way that they can potentially get Kansas City is really getting into that secondary. And here's what I think, Lo. And I know this is the boring answer, but Philadelphia is screwed. Is screwed if they can't run the football. They're just screwed if they can't run the football because Jalen Hurts isn't going to beat you in the air. But if they're able to develop a run game, if they just get one of those guys in AJ Brown or Devontae Smith to pop, it can be a very, very dangerous game. The Chiefs have the edge in the secondary because the Chiefs secondary, they literally just faced Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Guys like L'Jarius Sneed, Willie Gay, Trent McDuffie. The only thing is these are young guys, but Lo, it's so perfect that Kansas City faced the best 1-2 receiving punch in football before this game, right?
Absolutely. And people don't give Dennis Allen enough credit. What he's been able to do when you watch Kansas City. Comes up with
Steve Spagnuolo.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry about Dennis Allen. I'm thinking about the Raiders. Yes, Steve Spags. When you look about Steve Spags, Spagnuolo, what he's been able to do in his different matchups, he comes up with some different game plans that really fits his opponent. So I think when you think about Steve, what he's been able to do as a DC, he's really got Kansas City playing at a high level, especially when it comes to playoffs as far as defense.
Yeah, it's you make a great point. It's something with Kansas City, Lo, where they always struggle defensively to start the year, but he always gets them ready to go when they need to, right? Like the offense will win them games. They'll lose a couple close games, but then the good teams, they never have a ton of stars, but they're able to tighten up the screws and play as a cohesive unit. And, Kansas City's never going to be a top 3, top 4 defense because they don't have guys like Fred Warner, Nicky Bosa all around the block, but they have a good coach and they have a good structure in place that allows for player fluidity and mobility. They can bring in guys. They can let guys walk if they're going to get a bag, and they can just bring in guys to fit into that system. And those kind of teams are equipped to be successful for a long effing time, even when you have guys like Patrick Mahomes. Right. So it's just something about structure, mobility, and stability that makes Kansas City's defense so dangerous. And again, they're not going to overwhelm you. They're not going to be glitzer and glamoury like Philadelphia's defense. And I think, listen, a team like Philadelphia, obviously Kansas City wants to win this game. And obviously Mahomes, I wouldn't say needs this game, but it would be very nice. But you're more confident, Lo, that Kansas City, they're going to be back in the Super Bowl. They're going to be back in the Super Bowl. I don't know if it's next year, but this is not going to be the last Super Bowl Mahomes is in. Obviously, nothing's guaranteed. But this game is so important to Philadelphia. They need to win this game because, Lo, this has been a magical year for them. I don't think they're going to be this good again. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that Philadelphia is in a situation where I think that all the pressure is on Philly. Well, like last week, we talked about it, and the week before was Kansas City had a lot of pressure. They were saying that this is Burrow's Burrowhead. They looked at what he was against Joe Burrows. You think about all the outcry that was in Kansas City. They needed to get that win. I think they got the monkey off their back, and I think that's why they're poised to win. Their Super Bowl to me was last week when they played against the Cincinnati Bengals, because Cincinnati had beat him. Joe Burrows had owned them for the last 3 games, found a way to win. Now you're talking about a different animal. I think when you look at Kansas City, I think they're going to do a lot. I think they're going to do exactly what the Niners did as far as pressuring Jalen, making Jalen beat you from the pocket. Do not let him scramble. Do not let him boot. Even if you don't sack him, keep him in the pocket and make him beat you from the pocket, because that's a high RPO offense. It's that read, boom, tight ends right behind you, throws the ball right over their head. It's a quick read, get the ball out of your hand, move it around. That's the type of offense. If you can make Jalen go to a second and third reads and keep him in the pocket, I'm telling you, Kansas City can frustrate him. And that's what I think the Niners did well. They just didn't have the firepower offensively to keep up with them. But I think if you can make Jalen beat you from the pocket, and I think that's what Spagnuolo is going to try to do with this Kansas City defense.
Lo, Give me your score predictions for this Sunday.
Yeah. I think this is going to be. I'm going to go 33. I'm going to go 32-27. I think it's going to be high. I think there's going to be some fireworks, but I just don't think that this team. I really believe Kansas City gets to 30. This team is going to play loose, and I think Jalen Hurts and that offense, they're going to get theirs too.
You made the best point of our show seconds ago, and it was the Chiefs got the monkey off their back in the Cincinnati game. That game, they heard all the noise. They heard the Cincinnati mayor saying Burrowhead. They heard all those things. And to be fair, Kansas City couldn't talk much. And I think Lowe's phone overheated again, but it don't matter. It got no problems because I have the mic and it's my time to chat. But my point is this, it's that they got the monkey off their back. Kansas City couldn't talk much, everybody. They couldn't say much because as dominant and as great and as strong as Kansas City's been, they haven't been able to get through Cincinnati, and that was their kryptonite. And that was their kryptonite. And that was their kryptonite. So now that Kansas City has overcome that hurdle, now that Kansas City's overcome that challenge, as Lowe said, they're playing free, not necessarily with house money, but they're playing free. They don't have to hear all that noise. They silence their critics, and now they can go be great, which they're very used to. So I'm going to go 34-30, Kansas City. Slam the over, everybody, on Bet Online. I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. That's Lorenzo Neal. I'm Born in Azari. After this show, as Lowe says, we're going to have such a good time. Hopefully, we can go in studio, do some shows in person, go through some memory lane, maybe get some old Chargers on, talk about some old stories, some good times. Really want to make this offseason a really cool way for people to get a unique experience about this franchise. So, Lowe, next time we chat, I think we'll have a little bit of a different tone and direction of what we're going to be doing this offseason, my friend.
No question. I'm telling you right now, Borna, it's been great. This was a great year. I'm telling you, I worked with a lot of guys, a lot of people I've been able to work with, and I'm telling you, you're a class act. I love your swag. Appreciate I love what you bring to the table. Looking forward to doing this offseason with you and continue the greatness, brother. Appreciate you.
Hey, guys, that's number 41 on the field, but number 1 in your hearts. That's Lowe. I'm Borna. Everybody, we're signing out.